Hello guys, welcome to podcast 7 of Let's Revise MBBS, and today we will be talking about hematological changes in pregnancy and then we will continue with anemia in pregnancy. Okay, before that let me tell you about some endocrine changes which happen during pregnancy. So three main glands: adrenal, pancreas and pituitary. So the hormones of adrenal glands all increase. Okay, one of the hormones is aldosterone. Aldosterone also increases, and that's why there is sodium retention. Okay, but there is a hormone which is DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone, DHEA, which decreases during pregnancy. Okay, in pancreas, as we saw, HPL is secreting, which causes insulin resistance. That's why, to overcome this insulin resistance as a compensatory mechanism, pancreas secretes insulin. So insulin secretion increases as well as insulin resistance also increases. Okay. Coming on to the pituitary, all hormones of the pituitary glands increase except the two. Which one? Can you guess those? Simple. Since in pregnancy there is high level of estrogen and progesterone, it will cause negative feedback and the level of LH and FSH will decrease. So except LH and FSH, all other hormones from the pituitary gland increase. Okay. Something about thyroid gland. Thyroid gland, actually the levels of, in the pregnancy, the levels of HCG are more. And I told you that alpha subunit of HCG is similar to FSH, LH as well as TSH. So it has a slightly stimulating action on thyroid. So the levels of T3, T4 increase, but amount of free T3 and T4 they remain the same. Okay, right. Now in pituitary gland, as we saw, there is increased production of almost all the hormones. So the size of the pituitary also increases. It becomes more than double. Okay. But when there is pregnancy, in case there is postpartum hemorrhage, if there is a lot of blood loss, the amount of blood going to this enlarged pituitary after the delivery or after the bleeding will be quite less, and this can lead to necrosis of the pituitary. And you all know that this is called as Sheehan syndrome. Okay, so that was in short about the endocrine changes. Now let's move on to the hematological changes. So see, everything increases. The blood volume increases about 40 to 50%. RBC volume as well as RBC number increases. Hemoglobin also increases. Okay, the total hemoglobin in the body increases. But if you see the concentration of everything, it decreases. The concentration of HB decreases because the main reason for this is that the blood volume is increasing a lot. Others are also increasing, but the percentage by which they are increasing is less than that of the blood volume or the plasma volume. So eventually concentration of most of the substances will decrease. The blood is going to be less viscous. Okay. So as we said, blood volume is increasing, number of RBC is decreasing. Number of RBC is increasing, but the concentration of RBC is decreasing. Concentration of hemoglobin is also decreasing. Okay. Similar is the case with plasma proteins. So the total number of plasma proteins increase, but their concentration decreases. Coming on to the specifically two proteins, albumin and globulin. So normally before the pregnancy, the ratio of albumin to globulin is 1.7:1. So albumin is more than globulin. But in pregnancy, the amount of globulin increases more as compared to albumin. Okay, in fact albumin decreases slightly. So the ratio becomes 1:1 in pregnancy. Okay, coming on to WBC, the count of WBC increases in pregnancy. So it can go around 15,000 per mm cube. Normally it is up till 11,000, and in pregnancy it may go to 15 or it may also go to 20,000. Okay, number of platelet decreases. The concentration of the platelets decrease. So it's physiological decrease. It's not that it's very severe. It comes down till around 1 lakh. Okay. And as you all know, the pregnancy is the procoagulant stage. So all the clotting factors increase. Okay, except two. Which are those? 11, factor 11 and factor 13. These factors decrease, rest all other factors increase in number. Okay. And now coming to iron metabolism, the serum iron levels and serum ferritin levels both fall during pregnancy because there is more requirement. So more iron is used up and eventually the serum iron and serum ferritin level fall. Okay, and therefore TIBC, which is total iron binding capacity, and transferrin levels increase. Okay, so if there is less iron bound to transferrin is a protein. Okay, so if there is less iron bound to transferrin or bound to other protein, the binding capacity will increase, right? That therefore TIBC increases, transferrin level increases, but serum iron and serum ferritin levels fall. Okay, so now coming on to the anemia during pregnancy. So how do you define anemia in pregnancy? Right, any hemoglobin concentration below 11 gram% is known as anemia. Okay, now we have classified this anemia into 4 subtypes: mild, moderate, severe and very severe. Okay, this is going to help us to solve some cases which we'll see at the end. So mild is between 10 to 11. Moderate is between 7 to 10. Okay, severe is less than 7 and very severe is less than 4 gram%. Okay, is it clear? Now the most common type of anemia in pregnancy is obviously iron deficiency anemia. Now what is the total iron requirement during the pregnancy, during the entire period of pregnancy? It is 1000 milligram. Okay, how is this 1000 milligram divided? 500 milligram is required for the mother, 300 milligram is required for the fetus, and rest 200 is lost in urine. Okay, right. Now as I said that serum ferritin level fall. Okay, serum iron and serum ferritin levels fall in iron deficiency anemia. But serum ferritin level is the most sensitive marker to detect iron deficiency anemia. Why is it so? Because even if the female consumes a lot of iron for past few days, 3 or 4 days, there will be no any change in the serum ferritin level. Serum iron level may change depending on how much iron she has had in past few days, but serum ferritin level won't change immediately. That's why serum ferritin level is the most sensitive marker. Okay, now let's talk about prevention of iron deficiency anemia. So for that, our Ministry of Women and Family Welfare has said that every woman should take one IFA pill daily during pregnancy. So let me explain this. IFA is iron folic acid pills. It has 60 milligram of elemental iron and 500 microgram of folic acid. Okay, so we give them both iron as well as folic acid to prevent both types of anemia, iron deficiency as well as megaloblastic. So when these both types of anemia are present together, it is known as dimorphic anemia. Because if you see the PBS, there are two morphologies. Okay, one is megaloblastic and other is hypochromic, and the size is also decreased and the color is also pale, so hypochromic, right? So if the woman is not pregnant, if she is, so let's see, one girl is there and she is around 19 years. Okay, so and she has hemoglobin of around 11.5 or 12, okay, which is normal. So we start her, even if it is normal, to prevent iron deficiency anemia. We start her on IFA pill, which we give her one pill per week. Okay, we continue it. Now she reaches age of 23. she comes to the doctor and she says that she is planning to get pregnant. So before getting pregnant, 1 month before that, we advise her to take one IFA pill daily. Initially it was weekly, now we tell her to take it daily for at least 1 month. After that, she conceives and she gets pregnant. Then we stop these pills for the duration of first trimester for around 13 to 14 weeks, because as we discussed yesterday that pregnancy is there is increased chances of vomiting. It's an emetogenic state because of HCG and all. So that's why, and iron also can aggravate this vomiting. So we stop these pills for first 3 months or for the first trimester, and then we restart those pills. Okay, 1 pill daily again, and this she should take minimum for 180 days during the pregnancy and 180 days after the pregnancy, that is during the lactation. Okay, so this is entire thing for the prevention of iron deficiency anemia. Now coming on to the treatment, if she is already deficient in iron or if she is already anemic, we advise her 2 IFA pills daily. 1 IFA pill daily was for prevention of IDA. 2 iron folic acid pills are per day are for treatment of IDA. Okay, we'll see treatment in detail ahead. And if she is deficient in folic acid, if she has megaloblastic anemia, for treatment we give her 1000 microgram of folic acid. Okay, 1000 microgram. But if she has past history of a child which has neural tube defect, okay, or she is on any anti-epileptic drug which has a side effect of causing neural tube defect, then we give her 4000 microgram per day. Okay, if there is deficiency of folic acid, then 1000 microgram per day. If she has a past history of baby having neural tube defect, then we give her 4000 microgram. Okay, now this we saw about oral iron therapy. Now coming on to the parenteral iron therapy. When will we give parenteral iron? Only 3 conditions. First, if the patient is not compliant, she is not taking the tablets regularly. Second, if she has some side effects, oral side effects, GI side effects of the tablets. And third, if she has severe anemia in early 3rd trimester. So what is severe anemia? Hemoglobin less than 7. And what is early 3rd trimester? Before 34 weeks. Okay, 3rd trimester starts from 28 weeks. So 28 weeks to 34 weeks is the early 3rd trimester. In this early 3rd trimester, if she is having severe anemia, then it is an indication for parenteral iron therapy. For parenteral iron, we mainly have 2 formulations. One is ferrous sucrose and the other one is ferric carboxymaltose. The ferric sucrose is most commonly used. Okay, but one thing to remember here is that the rate of increase in hemoglobin is same whether you take parenteral iron therapy or you take oral iron therapy. Okay, now the further step ahead is blood transfusion. So what are the indications for blood transfusion? First, if she has allergy for iron, okay, then we can obviously not give her iron. So in that case, we need to give her blood transfusion. Then if there is severe anemia, which is less than 7 in late 3rd trimester, that is more than 34 weeks, then that is also an indication for blood transfusion. If it was early 3rd trimester, then parenteral iron therapy. Late 3rd trimester, we give blood transfusion. Okay. Anytime during the pregnancy, if her hemoglobin is less than 5 mg%, we give her this blood transfusion. Anytime. If it's below 5, we need to give her blood transfusion. Doesn't matter which trimester. Okay, and if she has had any hemorrhagic episodes which has led to her feeble pulses or any affecting her vitals, then also we need to give her blood transfusion. Okay, so we saw about prevention of IDA, then treatment of IDA by various modalities, by oral tablets, then by parenteral, and then blood transfusion. So coming on to the last part of the podcast, we have two cases. Okay, so the first case is that a primary gravida female having HB of 6 gram percent comes to your OPD and she is 30 weeks pregnant. Okay, what will you advise her, or what will you give her as a treatment? Oral, iron therapy, parenteral iron therapy, or blood transfusion? Think. 6 gram percent, 30 weeks. 6 gram percent, is it severe or is it moderate? It is not severe, it's moderate. Okay, but when is she coming? Sorry, 6 gram percent is severe, yeah, because it is less than 7. So severe anemia coming in early third trimester. 30 weeks is early third trimester. Severe anemia early third trimester is parenteral iron therapy. Exactly. So we will give her parenteral iron therapy. Now if the female has hemoglobin of 6.5 gram percent and comes to you at 36 weeks, so this is also severe anemia, but she is presenting in late third trimester. So we will give her blood transfusion. Okay, right. So that's all today. Chalo then. Enjoy and keep studying. Till then, goodbye.